it's time for us to do Story Time Live. And my name is Val. I'm a gallery interpreter at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. This program, if you've checked it out before, or if it's your first time, Story Time Live is a 15-minute program where I'm going to be reading a book. And when the program is done, this video will be recorded and then it will be posted on the Natural History Museum Facebook page. So if you get disconnected at any time for any reason or you need to step away, please don't worry. You can come back later to the Facebook page and check it out then, and watch it again if you really like this story. I will be asking questions throughout the program, and because of the way that this video is set up, I can't hear you. But if you want to answer the questions that I'm asking, you can do so in the comments section on this video. But also, if you just want to shout out your answer in the room that you're in, you may absolutely do that too. Sometimes it is really satisfying if we know the answer to a question to just shout it out. So now is the time when we're at home for the most part to answer questions that way. Now, the book I'm going to be reading today is about one of my favorite kinds of animals. And you know, a funny thing is when you turn into a grown-up, people stop asking you what your favorite animal is quite as much as they did when you were a kid. Luckily, working at the Natural History Museum, I work with a whole bunch of people who are always talking about their favorite animals, their favorite dinosaurs, their favorite gems and minerals. It's a really cool place. But it's hard to pin down what my favorite animal is. What I know is I tend to like animals that are omnivores, animals that eat all kinds of food. So I like raccoons, and I like rats, and I really like coyotes. And the book we're going to be reading today is about a coyote, and this is Coyote at Piñon Place, and it's by Deborah Denard, and illustrated by John Paul Genzo. And this is a book that we read over at the La Brea Tar Pits because coyotes have been living in LA as far back as the Ice Age. And we have a lot of coyote fossils over at the tar pits. So it's been a little while since I've read this book, but I'm really excited to get back into the story of this coyote. Okay, so you can see the text there. From beneath the softly drooping gray-green branches of the juniper tree where he sleeps, Coyote feels a drop of water, then another, then another. He opens his eyes, then stands and stretches his long, lean body, shaking the water from his rough fur. Can you do that? Maybe you don't have water on you right now, but can you shake out? Good. Okay. So the cooling rain stops as quietly as it began. The late afternoon sun returns and makes the aspen trees that are higher up in the mountains shine like glittering gold. Isn't that pretty? Coyote yawns and begins his search for food in the rocky Piñon forest that meets the pink-orange adobe house on Piñon Place. So we can see here, try to get the coyote in the shot there. So you can see he's stretching his long, lean body. He's just waking up for the day, and he's pretty hungry. So he's going to start looking for food right away. That's what I do too. What to eat. All right. A flock of jays splash noisily in a puddle of rainwater. Hungry, Coyote crouches, then leaps at the birds. They chatter and fly across the arroyo to a bird feeder. Cautiously, Coyote follows. Not so long ago, he lived with his family group, and there were no houses in the forest. Now everything is different. For the first time, he steps into a backyard in Piñon Place. So we can see those jays. Jays are bluebirds. We can see the birds there. We can see there's a bird feeder and just the corner of a house. And Coyote's story is that that house wasn't always there. So his environment has changed as people have shown up. Now, coyotes are pretty neat because they will adapt and survive and thrive in environments where people are living. They're really cool animals. We can see here that coyote, right? And he's checking out this backyard. and all the people stuff in that yard. What's he going to do next? Okay. Coyote catches the scent of water. Very important water. We got to drink water every day. A small plastic pool surrounded by toys sits in one corner of the yard. Coyote sniffs the toys and the water, then he drinks his fill. So you can see Coyote drinking the water from the pool there. And we can maybe think about the people that live in that house. If they've got a really small pool in the backyard, one of those inflatable pools that would be nice to have on a hot day like today, and a bunch of toys in the yard too. Who do you think might live in that house? Something to think about. Okay, so we can see Coyote in our story. A shadow flitting on the ground catches Coyote's eye. He lifts his head and sees 3 vultures soaring. Vultures mean food that needs only to be found, not hunted. Coyote watches as they circle, their wings flat against the warm breezes that carry them. Soon the birds turn and float away towards their roost. The roost is their house. They won't help Coyote today in his never-ending search for food. So Coyote thought that those vultures were going to help him find some food that needed to be found, but not hunted. But no luck today. So he is still searching for food. You can see Coyote there. What do we think he's doing here? Is he checking them out? Yeah, he's sniffing the plants. Okay. Coyote's stomach growls as his hunger grows. Hundreds of ants swarm over a patch of sagebrush. Coyote laps up the tiny insects, then some sweet blue juniper berries. He spies an unsuspecting grasshopper and adds that to his snack. So, Coyote eats insects. It's one of the kinds of food that he likes to eat. It's really fun. All right. A strange whinnying sound catches Coyote's ear. He looks at the spot where the lush green lawn of the yard meets the sparse blue grama grass of the forest. Soon the grass parts, and out marches a flock of quail. Can we see the quail? These little round birds up here? Have you ever seen a quail in person? They're pretty neat. They're pretty cute. Coyote is very excited to see those quail. All right. Coyote cocks his head as he looks at their striped faces and tiny crests. The round little birds searching for insects and seeds should be an easy meal, but Coyote is not the only one hunting today. Who else do we think might be hunting? These little quail right here. Who do you think? Let's find out. A rattlesnake hides in the grass at the edge of the yard, ready to make a meal of the quail. Coyote doesn't see the rattlesnake. The rattlesnake doesn't see Coyote. The little quail stand and scratch at the ground between the two. So it might be a little hard to see. But here's the rattlesnake. Here are the quail. And over here is Coyote. What do you think is going to happen? Then it happens. Coyote pounces as the rattlesnake strikes. The quail cry out and fly in all directions. Coyote freezes as he sees 3 feet of fierce rattlesnake before him. The snake's rattle vibrates angrily as a warning. His head rears up and its mouth opens in a frightening threat. You see the frightening threat? Yeah, and those quails are trying to get out of there. And Coyote is in the mix. Now, you might have seen a rattlesnake in person before. If you ever go to the Natural History Museum down in the Nature Lab, we do have a rattlesnake on display that's alive that you can see moving around and stuff. It's really, really exciting. Coyote's heart pounds wildly. He is barely 9 months old, but he knows well the danger of such a snake. At first, neither of them moves. Then slowly, Coyote steps backwards. The rattlesnake lowers his head and stops rattling. Finally, he slithers silently away. He too would rather retreat than fight. So these two animals that are predators might have fought today. Those quail got away from them, but they might have fought each other. But both of them thought it was safer to just walk away. And that's what they did. He still hasn't found anything to eat other than that grasshopper. Coyote turns his back to the house on Piñon Place. As he reaches the edge of the forest, his luck improves. A white-throated wood rat peeks out of his brush-covered rocky cave. The wood rat doesn't see or smell Coyote. Coyote tenses, all four legs held closely together. His long, pointed ears twitch. He is hungry and ready. So we can see Coyote up here, hungry and ready. And over here is that wood rat in its home. Now, do we think Coyote is going to successfully get the wood rat? Maybe. Let's find out. Okay. There's a lot of stuff on this one page. I'll move it over here on this side. Okay. Coyote sways his body backwards and tightens every muscle. He arches his back, then launches into the air. His front paws land first. His black-tipped tail wags with excitement. Again and again, he slaps a paw at the grass where the wood rat tries to escape. Coyote will have none of that. He touches his long, slender muzzle to the ground and separates the matted grass with his feet. Underneath his paws is the wood rat, and he gobbles up the rodent. So he did get that wood rat. He got to eat it. So you can see there, he's using, they call it a muzzle. That's going to be this part of him where his nose is. He's using that. He's using his paws, and he successfully gets to eat the wood rat. Good for the coyote. Bad for the wood rat. Good for the coyote. All right. So we can see our coyote right here. Okay. The sun grows dimmer as it sets in streaks of red and pink dusk. Within moments, darkness descends over the towering mountains. Above, the pinyon trees and adobe house below. An early autumn chill settles in the air. Soon these mountains will be covered with snow. Coyote sits, raises his head to the sky, pulls back his lips. He barks a long string of sharp yips and yaps. Then a long wail and a trembling tenor howl pour from his throat. This is a really beautiful image too, right? And the way that the words describe the environment, the way that the air feels, and the sounds that he makes. If you look at this beautiful drawing, can you imagine in your head what the coyote sounds like? Yips and yaps and howls. Why don't we go ahead and make some coyote sounds? Why not? Okay, so if we think about that coyote, we go, yip, yip, yip. Can you do it? I can't hear you, but I hope you did it. I hope some of you did it. Very good. In the distance, he hears it, faint yet sure. Yips and yaps, a long howl, then more wails. Coyote listens and answers. Perhaps the calls come from the family group he has so recently left. Perhaps the calls come from coyotes who will someday be part of his own group. For now, he only listens and watches the moon as it shines on Piñon Place. So he called out, and just like how we made those coyote sounds, he heard them in the distance, the other coyotes. They can communicate over long distances. And that brings us to the end of the story of this coyote. At the very back, there is information about the coyote and a glossary of terms. So it talks about the size of the coyote, somewhat about 30 pounds. Their thick fur makes them seem much larger. The rough, coarse hair varies from light to dark gray, with brown, black, red, or yellow highlights. The eyes are dark, round, and have yellow irises, and the ears are pointed and movable. The throat and belly are almost white. The tips of the tail are black. And the tail is carried down when running, but it wags high in the air when the animal is excited. Isn't that kind of neat? We can think about that being similar to dogs, right? And maybe just before we go, if you're ever in the museum, we do have a coyote pelt, which is coyote fur. And the volunteers and the educators will carry around that coyote pelt, and people can actually feel what the fur feels like. So I invite you to use your sense memory and think about if you've ever been to our museum or another museum or an institution where they have a pelt. Close your eyes and think about what that coyote fur felt like. And if you've never touched a coyote pelt, maybe you've petted a dog or some other kind of animal with kind of thick, fluffy fur. So if you close your eyes and think about what that fur felt like, the color of it, and how that fur and all of those other senses will help that coyote or another kind of animal really thrive in its environment, maybe an environment that it shares very closely with us. Does it help it to blend in? Does it help keep it warm on a cool, chilly autumn night? Probably does. All right. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of this week's Storytime Live. Again, my name is Val, and I'm a gallery interpreter at the museum. This video will be posted on the Facebook account very shortly, so if you would like to rewatch it or if you missed any part, please feel free to go back and check it out then. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day and have a good afternoon.